I'm Mark Smelly Bell, and many people know me as the Protein Fat Man. A lot of people have followed me. A lot of people have heard me talk about carnivore, keto, low carb lifestyle. I now have switched. I flipped the script, and now I'm mainly eating sugar. In this video, you're going to find out how I'm doing it and what it's doing for me and why I'm doing it. Catch you guys later. I posted a video yesterday about my buddy Cole Robinson getting his YouTube channel taken down. I just thought that was really interesting and noteworthy. I don't know why it got taken down, but he's talking a lot about this sugar diet. The more that I look into it, the crazier and crazier it keeps getting. It's like, it seems like there's been a lie told on top of a lie, told on top of another lie about our food and about kind of how the human body works. And it's interesting. And we all know too, we know the answer lies somewhere in the middle, right? But for people that are really trying to mitigate the weight that they've gained over so many years, they kind of need to take things to maybe more extreme measures. And that's where you end up with the sugar diet, where it's sugar in the absence of fat, but it's also somewhat in the absence of protein. If you dig deep enough, you'll find something called the honey diet. And if you dig deeper, you'll find that in 1930, there was a gentleman that was utilizing a very high carbohydrate, modest, really low, almost low protein diet that had, I think it was like 2% of the calories. 2% of the calories came from fat. And he was helping people with all kinds of disease, including diabetes. Also, I'll bring these names to you guys. I'll try to look them up a little bit better. I'm not remembering them all now since I'm just freshly learning some of these things. But there's another guy who discovered, he was the guy who figured out the difference between type 1 and type 2, sensitive and insensitive to insulin. The guy that discovered that actually was also curing people, not putting diabetes in remission, but actually fixing it. So there's a big difference. I think what's happening out there is that low carb, carnivore, these kind of interventions, I think they can really be super helpful for a lot of things. And despite Cole Robinson's passion, I do think that Dr. Sean Baker, along with Paul Saladino and a lot of people and some of the messages I've shared about carnivore, keto, I think they're all really effective and all really important. And I also have personally lost over 100 pounds utilizing those strategies. So how can I sit here and try to tell you like, hey, there's this new diet and this one works and the other ones are crap? That's not true. This is another diet that can work. This is another option that can work. And I think you can be keto for a day. You could be vegan for a day. You could be carnivore for a day. Or you could do it for a month. Or you can do it for a week. Or you can do it for a year. Or you can have it be part of the rest of your life, right? And if you were to do that, if you actually think about it, what would that put you? That would put you smack dab in the middle, wouldn't it, in terms of your macros? So if we tracked your macros for a year and you did the sugar diet, and we tracked your macros for another year, or we tracked your macros the year before that, when, let's just say you're tracking me and I did keto and carnivore, or really low carb, right? Where would my macros be? They would be the same as if somebody that was just counting their calories and being right in the middle the whole time. As much as I kind of hate to admit that's the truth of it. You're trying to figure out a way to divvy out your calories in a way that's reasonable. And I think what I'm excited about, and I think what people get excited about, is when they find carnivore, they find keto, they're like, holy shit, I get to eat omelets, I get to eat bacon, I get to eat steaks and all these things. Now, there is a downside to that diet, but I think there might be a downside to every diet. So as I step into the sugar diet, I'm going to step carefully and try to do my best to share the information as I continue to learn it. But I got to admit, I didn't really buy that saturated fat had like dangers to it. I still don't know how much I buy it. Like I don't necessarily buy that reasonable amounts of saturated fat can be harmful, but I do think for some people that good amounts of saturated fat or a lot of saturated fat can be harmful for your insulin sensitivity, which could trigger things like diabetes, which could trigger things also like heart disease. So these are some of the things I'm finding and figuring out. I sent a bunch of information over to my boy Stan Efferding, who studies this stuff quite a bit. And Stan, as he's been studying this stuff religiously, he sent me all these different studies about how I want to say like 90% of people's, 90% of the health benefits viewed by people's blood work, markers and indicators of their overall health, were increased almost strictly by their weight loss, and it didn't matter how they lost their weight. That's pretty compelling. That doesn't mean like dead stop, we never research anything else ever again, but it's pretty compelling. So how you lose your weight. Obviously, there's like people that overexercise, and there's people that are just losing muscle mass and things like that. So that's not really what we're talking about here. We know that that's not great. But most people will get the most amount of benefit from simply just losing weight, period. So that's why there's such a focus and emphasis on weight loss. And that's why I put that at kind of number one. It's like we have to figure out, and if that's going to be number one, then we have to try to figure out a way to like manage the calories and manage your energy out. What I think I'm finding on the sugar diet is that it makes me just want to fucking go. It makes me just want to work. And then when I work, it makes me want to work even harder than normal. And I'm just noticing that I'm working at like better paces. I'm starting to feel a little bit stronger again. I'm feeling more jacked. You may have even noticed it in my physique. It's small changes because I'm already pretty lean and stuff, but there's small changes that are happening. And I was 211 pounds this morning. I was 212 like a day or two ago. So the weight is kind of continuing to trend downward. It's pretty slow. I've been doing this for 8 weeks, but there's not a crazy amount of body fat for me to lose. So it's going to take time. But, you know, one of the goals is to have some striations in the legs and maybe even striations in the calves. I don't know how far I'll be able to take it before it starts to get too weird. But I think that my body will continue to improve. I think aesthetically it will continue to improve as I dive into this a little bit deeper. It's been super interesting. So I made this post. This was this morning. And this is my breakfast. It was actually my breakfast yesterday, but it's Instagram, so you just pretend that it was today. But anyway, I had some Sour Patch Kids. I ate like, I don't know, 10 or 20 of them, and I ate a couple handfuls of these Starburst jelly beans. I also had like 8 ounces of apple juice before my workout. Now, keep in mind, I like to work out often. And so before that, I did a Peloton workout. I did like 30-minute Peloton workout. And I did the same thing today. I did a 15-minute Peloton workout, and it was more of a HIIT training Peloton workout just on the bike. And I got done with that, then had these sugars, just did the workouts, I guess you'd say fasted. Ate plenty of carbs the night before, so I felt like I had a good amount of rocket fuel in me to get through that workout and to have good output on those workouts. But those workouts feel easier. They feel a little bit better to me. So I also want to make it clear that when I was doing keto, carnivore, low carb type stuff, that I never felt bad, but I didn't really realize, this almost reminds me of when I started to mess around with electrolytes. I started to take some electrolytes like during or in the middle of a workout when I was doing those styles of diets. I just was I had so much more oomph to me. I had so much more that I could give in the middle of the workout. Now it feels like I have even more to give. And so I was not feeling shitty or crappy doing those other diets. But when I was in the middle of a workout, I kind of felt like, I want to go home. I kind of felt like I didn't have as much to give. It wasn't like I didn't have good output, but it was, I'd get in the middle of the workout and it felt like I couldn't keep up with like the duration or the intensity for too long, basically. But yeah, I posted this up, and sometimes it's to be like a little inflammatory, catch people's attention. But I do clearly state in here, and no one's going to actually read the whole thing, right? But I did actually state in here, like, I'm not eating this every morning. This is not like my staple breakfast. I just happened to do it over the last 2 days because it ended up being pretty convenient. But I think despite what people have been saying, I think that refined sugar, it's like hard to say it flat out, but I think refined sugar might be totally fine. And sugar in general might just be totally fine in all forms. There are things to think about. I mean, junk food is junk food. These things have citric acid in them. And that along with sugar is like, not great for your teeth. So there's some health concerns around some of these things, but in terms of, you know, plaque, in terms of libido, in terms of like all these different things that we're looking at for markers of health or diabetes, these things are not going to hurt those things. It might potentially have a particular impact on some people that maybe are already compromised. So that's something to kind of consider. That's something to kind of look at. And so, as always, you want to try to proceed with caution. But for me, this is feeling amazing. I'll just give you a list of some of the foods that I've been eating, but I'm not having any protein and I'm not having any fat during the day. It's usually later on in the evening. Sometimes it might be as early as like 3 or 4 p.m. Usually trying to stick it like 5, 6, 7 p.m. is when I eat my proteins. My proteins are very lean sources of protein. 99% lean turkey. I'm trying to be pretty strict with it. 93.7 lean ground beef might be mixed in to like 2 pounds of that turkey to give it some fat, and then also to keep it super lean and add flavor through the beef. And I'll throw taco seasoning on there and some fajita, like vegetables, and it's awesome. I also did the same thing with like a stir fry, made it like an Asian dish, and it was absolutely awesome. Might eat that with heated and cooled rice or heated and cooled potatoes, heated and cooled stuff. You can watch Thomas DeLauer. He did a recent video talking about resistant starch. Resistant starch might not seem like that big of a deal, but it is. I think like 50% reduction in the carbohydrates. Now I know that we're looking for like sugar blasts in this particular diet, but this is what I'll have with my dinner. I'll have a starch with my dinner, and I think it's appropriate as you go throughout the day to start to shift your carbohydrate focus into like things that are less energetic. So like berries. Berries have a good amount of fiber in them. They have a good amount of water. Watermelon's like nothing. It's just like water and a little bit of sugar. But it's not really packed with a lot of calories. So I've been having a smoothie here and there later on in the evening, but I'm finding it's kind of disrupting my sleep. It's too much energy late in the day, I think, for me. Anyway, so I usually have that dinner. Maybe I'll have like a protein shake after. I'm trying to get my protein in at that point of the day, but the amount of protein I've been eating might be 125 to maybe 200 on a particular day, but 125 to 175. I'm not really sweating. I'm not worried about it. Keep in mind, I don't really care that much if I lose muscle, but I don't want to lose muscle. Also keep in mind, I utilize performance enhancing drugs. I'm on more than just TRT. We'll just leave it there because I don't want any of this to get demonetized or canceled or whatever. If you want to DM me about it, you can hit me up on Instagram, Mark Smelly Bell. I'm always truthful about it. Always try to give people as much info as I can as it comes to that particular topic. But yeah, so during the day, the foods that I'll eat, it's basically just fruits and vegetables. You know, in this case, I'm showing you guys some candy that I was eating, but fruits, vegetables, fruit juice. Yes, that's pretty much honey. I guess you could have maple syrup if you want to throw some maple syrup in there. What's interesting about juice, apple juice, orange juice, pineapple juice, any of these kinds of juices, coconut water is a little bit different because coconut water has like very little density in terms of caloric load because it's like kind of watered down. It's great. It's a great hydrator and stuff like that. So if you like coconut water, then go for it. But even regular juice, I never really thought about it this way, but Cole pointed this out. He's like, you got to hammer a ton of juice, a ton of apple juice or orange juice to like make it to where it's going to be like detrimental to you in terms of your weight loss. And he was even saying like, I think you'd have to drink like a gallon or maybe even more. The interesting thing on that is like, I think all that actually happens, the more fruit that you add, even when it's in the form of juice, I think all that happens is it just speeds up your metabolism. So I don't think you're going to even really gain weight. I mean, some of you can even try like an experiment with it and see what the hell happens. Again, this is in the absence of fat. If we have fat calories in there as normal, this ain't going to work. Some people believe that this has to do with FGF21. FGF21 is a hormone, I believe, that gets released, and it helps to speed up the metabolism. But just look it up, check it out, like ChatGPT, and you'll be shocked at some of the information that you'll hear about it. You'll be like, how come I never heard about this before? There's a guy, I think if you type in honey diet on YouTube, you'll start to find a lot of information on this, and you'll hear more information about this in 2025. Other people are going to catch on, because this is a really rad way to like lose weight, I think, because you're able to consistently give yourself energy all day. You don't need to fast. Fasting, I still think, is credible. I still think fasting is awesome. Still think it has a lot of utility, and there's a lot of great reasons to fast, intermittent fast, dry fast. I think all of them are dope. I will utilize them forever and ever because they're great. But it's nice to know that you don't have to. It's nice to know that like you don't necessarily need that strategy, and kind of like it's more like a would you rather thing. You know, would you rather fast, or would you rather be able to eat like fruit all day? And so I've been really enjoying that. I have mentioned on my podcast and mentioned in some other spots that I'm eating some of these freeze-dried fruits. There's a company called Bare, B-A-R-E. They have banana, they have apple, they have cinnamon apple. They just taste amazing. Sometimes it's nice just to get some different tastes. The fruits that I mainly eat are raspberries, blueberries, blackberries. So a lot of berries. I'll also eat, I don't know, 1, 2, or 3 bananas in a day, depending on the day. I'll eat quite a bit of oranges, apples, just a lot of fruit. I've been eating a lot of dates. There's some people, as you dive into this rabbit hole, who are like, hey, there's something weird about dates. I don't know how many, and some guys have reported they can lose weight eating dates, and some have reported that they can't. There's a little, I guess some people are saying there's some starch in dates that maybe make it a little different than the other fruits. I don't know. For me, I'm eating dates and I'm still losing weight. Dates are weird because they also have allulose in them, and that's interesting because allulose can actually help regulate your blood sugar. But really, the thing I'm interested with this diet is that I think it's interesting that what I'm trying to do with it is I am trying to train my insulin sensitivity. So I'm trying to teach my body to be able to handle more and more insulin, handle more and more carbohydrate. There's some people that are heavy or obese, and their baseline insulin levels are higher. And it's because it takes more and more insulin for them over time for them to have insulin do its job. They become insulin resistant. Insulin is supposed to go up when your glucose goes up, and they're supposed to kind of match each other. X amount of insulin to help clear X amount of glucose. Clear, I guess, means to put glucose into the right spots in your body, put glucose into your muscle, put glucose into your liver. Some of my brief understanding, and I'm still just learning some of this, but it doesn't seem like you really even need insulin for fructose to get stored in your liver, which is kind of an interesting kind of bypass of some of the system, or you need a lot less insulin. But anyway, I'm trying to make myself very carb friendly, I guess you'd say. And I think that I probably won't know how good this diet works until like the middle of next month, because it's still fairly new to me. I've been doing it for like 6 or 7 weeks or so. And I think all those years of low carb, I still got a lot to learn with this diet. So this is what I'm doing. I'm trying to put out as much information about it as I can, because it can be kind of confusing sometimes for people, and I'm just trying to give them as much details as I can. That's the sugar diet. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later.